Busy day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Scared myself there for a second. I opened a file in the wrong program, and it's like, that's not going to work. And I was like, oh no, it's corrupted. But it's not. I'm just dumb. All right. This is a 48-hour art check, round 267.
Right.
I've finally taken the step of moving my microphone off to my off hand, so it's no longer in my way. I've got like so much room over here. It's crazy.
It's got to be kind of weird to adjust to having a different location when you're used to
yeah, and also like I'm not sure why it hasn't been over here the whole time. I don't know why I put it directly in the path of my drawing hand, but I did. How you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump in.
Let's do it.
I can go first. So my progress, I got. Let's take that off. I basically was doing these. I'm working on another fake commercial, and so I've got these kind of battle bots going on. So it's basically I've got like arms that open and fold, and I've got saw arms that do the same thing.
Nice.
And they kind of wave around, and then I put all those on. These little bots, so they look really rigid right now, but they're gonna kind of like wobble back and forth as they balance on the sphere that they're kind of on.
Wow.
This is my my jab at the Electoral College and majority rule and all of the different things. So I'm coming up with a new form of government that is based on everyone gets a little battle bot, and who's ever battle bot wins gets to decide whether the bill is voted yes or no. So it's a government by combat, I think is the plan. So
did you finish the last one?
Yeah, the Journey Poo. That's been out for a week or so.
Have I not seen it, or did I?
It's been up. I think it's. I know I put it on Instagram.
That's why I haven't seen it. I never go on Instagram.
But I thought I put it on YouTube as well.
Okay.
Let me check. Maybe I didn't. I'm pretty sure I did though. I don't know. I'll have to see here. Maybe it's not. Maybe I still need to put that up on Instagram or on YouTube. Yeah, it's not on YouTube yet. So if you haven't seen it, it's on Instagram.
Okay. I'll have to track that down.
Yeah, no, I'll put it up. I might have put it up on YouTube as well. I don't know how I missed that. I might have put it up on. Yeah, it's not up there. Anyway, I'll get it up there today.
Nice. So
yeah. And then as far as like client work goes, I got a big pitch done, and they liked it, so that's all good. And most of the other things I was working on are going well or done. So,
nice.
Yeah. So how about you, Josh?
Oh man, a ton of stuff. So based on our last conversation that was, I think, on Artcasters, I've just been cranking. So I've been trying to stay with doing a thumbnail a week. So I'll show these real quick and get to that. So I've thumbnailed, let's see, 5 pages. So that gets me in a pretty good spot. I also want to share some other stuff. So while I'm setting that up, I also started setting up. Let me see if I can get this shared. I started setting up press packets. So like there's a secret spot online that will have these as downloadable files that are like high res files for publication. So it's like selected pages for stories, like to promote 2 stories, a graphic novel. And then, so I took some product photos too and cleaned them up so they look nice. Author photos. So I took a couple author photos that are high res that will be available as well. And then logo files. So, people have all the tools. So now all I have left is the body copy for the press release, and then other than the body copy for the press release, I need to also do the trailer video, and so I think that's kind of what I was going to do. Initially, I was going to do like a case to buy it type video where it was a lot of me talking to the camera. And I realized it would be better to have it sort of more like a traditional trailer for a film or something like that, then have it cut with B-roll of me doing the pages that I have on my YouTube channel, like selected pages, and then maybe like intersperse a few cuts of me talking, but not a ton. And then, so that's stuff I got. Another thing I needed to do, since I've got 2 stories coming out, is actually update my store section on my site, because for some reason, since building it on Squarespace, I couldn't get it to have like books in the book section on my site. So now I've fixed the issues that were there. So now you can actually now there's a section to buy, like this lovely little comic Numb that I made years ago, because I have a whole ton of them sitting around that you can purchase. So just go to the store section of my site. It'll take you to like a eBay page where I'm selling these. And then all the other books that I've illustrated and stuff like that, especially the ones available, like Relief Journal, you have to buy direct through them. But all the others are available on Amazon. So I have Amazon links back up to all the design annuals and books I've illustrated and stuff like that. So glad to have that fixed, because that's going to be a key section to have when I'm able to list 2 stories, for sale. So that's huge. And then I did get. Let me show a sneak peek of like what. Just want to make sure I'm not showing anything I should. Okay, hang on a second. And I will, let's see, stop screen and share another thing. Sorry. Just this last thing, which is, so like this is kind of the rough right now. Obviously, I'm going to rework some of the type. I'm just putting in what I need. But this is like the copy that, like this is what, like when I send out the press release, it's going to go to, where it has like links, and there's a link where you can download a free preview of the whole book, as well as like access to the high res images and stuff for an article. And so like my hope is to have a trailer video that'll be up here, and then a bunch of body copy. And I have that kind of worked out too. So we'll see. But it's weird, but just gathering all that. I already have the copy written for what the trailer video will be, so maybe I can talk to you guys after or during or something to see what you think about the body copy for it. And then the cool thing is this is actually available right now on Amazon. So if you look for 2 Stories by Joshua Kemble and you spell it correctly like that, you should be able to find a section like the pre-order is not open yet, but you can click it to where it says email me when the pre-order is available. And then the cool thing is the Kindle and Comixology versions are there. So if you want a digital, I would actually recommend against that because it's a book that I think you're going to want to like own in person. Like it's a book made for print. But if you are one of those people who lives in an area where, you know, shipping's super expensive and you don't have Prime, if you have Prime, then hang on, order the printed book. If you don't have Prime and you live in like Canada and it costs a fortune to get it shipped to you or something, then you can order it on Kindle or Comixology. So yeah, so that's where it's at right now, and then we'll just kind of see. But it's interesting now that I kind of have an idea of where to head. I'm sort of heading there very quickly and kind of like have a pretty clear idea of what I need to get done. So I really appreciate like for anybody who didn't listen to it, I'd recommend go back, listen to our last Artcasters where we had Corey on, who helped me along with Scott to like kind of troubleshoot like ways to like go about the press release for this. And it actually really did help and reshifted my priorities and stuff. So that's good. And like I said, also just trying to, you know, maintain output of like doing the thumbnails and stuff. So I'm going to try to hit the point of doing about 1 page a day, and then we'll see where that goes once I get into video editing, because that can take a while. So yeah, so that's what I got done so far. So and some people already bought Numb, which was cool. So like it's kind of fun. It's eBay's changed a bit since I last used it. So like now they have a crossover with shipping labels, which is badass. So like you can literally just print a shipping label once, like for the person, the second they buy the product, and like print the label and slap it on your envelope, and it's good to go. So it's a lot more efficient than it used to be, and I appreciate that. There's like a little bit of a curveball because I hadn't run my shop for quite a few years, so it was kind of in that dormant status where they just kind of let it sit dead. So you have to like fill out like 5 things to kind of get it back up. But yeah, it's fun to see those. Like I put like 50 up for sale, and it's at like 44 now. So it's cool. Fun to see those move and kind of see that book's still getting out there. So yeah. So anyhow, that's my stuff. Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, how about you?
So I didn't get a whole lot done the last 48 hours, but I did some sketching. I uploaded some products to there's a new digital marketplace that approached me. And so I uploaded some products to that, and of course filled out all the store info and everything. So we'll see if stuff sells on there. And I also I did some artwork that I recorded for the YouTube channel that I'll do speed artwork. I did one like this old character that I drew a long time ago that I kind of revamped and revisited and everything. And then I did this sketch cover, this Ultraman sketch cover. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Nice.
It's like a wraparound and everything. So he's fighting a big kaiju and everything. So you'll kind of see the process of that when I get around to making that video and everything. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did.
That's cool.
Badass. That would make my son happy. He got so obsessed with Ultraman a year ago, and to the point where he was like demanding that I get him a Bimular toy.
Well, it's weird because this is I thought it would have been like a IDW or something like that, but it's Marvel. So I don't know it looks like it's licensed because obviously all the copyright says it's still copyright whoever owns Ultraman. But But so I don't know if that means that he can show up in the Marvel universe now or what, but interesting,
cool.
I guess.
I don't know. He was owned by Marvel. That's
No, he's not owned by Marvel, but it's a Marvel comic though, so they're either licensing him or whatever. How they're ever gonna, I don't know how they're doing it exactly, but
that'd be interesting, man. Like an Ultraman Spider-Man episode where they bring the Japanese Spider-Man back. That would be amazing.
Spider-Man. Yeah, that would be cool. I wouldn't doubt if they're going to do that.
I mean, they've got Penny Parker.
Yeah.
In the Spider-Verse.
It's true.
So yeah. So challenges, nothing huge for me. Trying to think if there nothing really comes to mind. Oh, yeah, I thought I might have cancer, so I don't. So that's good.
Yeah.
I had this like lump that was pressing on my neck and making it hard to breathe and talk and stuff. And so I went into the urgent care yesterday, and it's just like a really big swollen lymph node. So just waiting that out. I forgot about that. But yeah, and I've been sleeping weird, probably because of that. But yeah, nothing huge. And it was a little concerning there for a little bit, but not anymore. So
yeah, those scares are strange and happen more often, I think, as we creep up there. So
I was like, this hurts, like to turn my head and swallow, and like I can feel something pressing on my throat.
Jeez.
So it wasn't like a sore throat. And then I was like, all right, let's look it up. So I looked it up, and I'm like, okay, so it's like lymphoma or cancer or a tumor or tonsillitis, or none of it was like, it's like it could just be sore throat, or it could be all these things that are going to kill you.
Anytime you look something up like that on the internet, it's either it could be the worst thing in the world or it could be no big deal. So thanks, internet.
And I feel like if I didn't go into the doctor, it would end up killing me. And because I went into the doctor, they get to tell you the most annoying thing ever, which is, you should be fine in a couple of days. I'm like, well, it's been like this for a week. Like I don't come in because I enjoy visits to the doctor. So
it's good though. Like it's annoying. You don't want to hear that, but at the same time, it's better to hear that than like, I'm sorry, you have a week to live, like, or something. So that's good news.
So anyway,
I had that abdominal discomfort a while back, and and it, usually when if I have like a pain or something, it eventually goes away, and that wasn't going away. And I went to the doctor, and they apparently it was like nothing. They didn't find anything. So I'm like, okay. And then it did that really hasn't bothered me in a while. So yeah, I don't know. Weird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. I even with my hand thing, when I was initially experiencing pain in that, of course I went down the rabbit hole and I was like, oh, it's gotta be cancer, which is so stupid because it's clearly a repetitive motion injury, but it's like, but what's funny is if I wanted to go down that rabbit hole, it definitely led there a little bit. So I was like, well, there's always that possibility too. That's I don't know. I don't know if Google's a good thing or a bad thing for health.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly useful. I don't know. But anyway, so there's that. How about you, Josh, for challenges?
So challenges for me have mostly been just now that it's ramping up, just trying to kind of prioritize and focus. But I feel like the biggest hurdle was just trying to kind of figure out a game plan. And so like for me at first, it was kind of like, well, where do I start? And then next it's been like thinking about, like even now, like what I'm thinking about is like my list and having to come up with a list of contacts and stuff to kind of send to the press release to, and then how I'm going to do that as well. Because once I have that section of my site, like it's really helpful. But if I have no one looking at it, that's not super helpful. So just kind of breaking it down in sections, like I have my sister was a a senior editor for an entertainment section, so she's pretty talented at finding who the right contact to send a press release is. And actually, that's a really that's a kind of annoying thing to have to find. And so she's going to be assisting with that, which I really appreciate. She's actually helping with the press release as well, like drafting it, stuff like that. But at the meantime, like I also feel encouraged. Just kind of looking at the original press release that I sent out from my last book that got a lot of response. It wasn't that impressive. It was like a paragraph, like this is literally it. And, you know, it generated a lot of press, and that was just from, you know, just the wherewithal and a decent list. And so like, that's the catch, is like trying to find a list, trying to stay focused, trying to not get discouraged, which always happens for me when I'm toward the end of a project. Like I have to kind of fight the imposter syndrome and a lot of the self-doubts and stuff that happen where you're like, okay, so you got a publisher, so you got a book, so now 2 people are going to buy it and no one's going to care, kind of thing, you know. And fighting that off and just trying to kind of even use some of that as energy to create positive momentum and make sure I'm moving forward on my next book. And because it felt really good to get this thing finished and to see that book like printed. So I want to experience that again, even if it sells no copies. And then the other thing is just learning to like try to shut that off and continue proceeding forward. Cause it really is like it's a big experiment doing marketing, even at like giant companies. A lot of it's risk. And that's why I think it's good when companies hire people to do marketing, to hire people who aren't super risk averse. Like you need to take measured risks, but marketing's all risk. And so, you know, it's not quite like sales, where sales, there's a little bit of risk, but it's usually very calculated and geared towards like a specific client that has an interest in your product. A lot of the time it's a person that's been brought to you by marketing, you know? So I think, anyhow, my point is like trying to kind of embrace that and kind of, it's been fun though. Like, but yeah, there's that challenge. And then oddly enough, I'm getting to a portion of the writing that's heavy and difficult again. And that's kind of a new experience. It's been, I mean, the whole book is pretty heavy and difficult, but, the section I've been writing about is like, you know, an event in my life I don't think about often, and I don't think about in detail, much less have to illustrate. And so that's been interesting and a bit of a struggle too. But you know, kind of part and parcel with what I kind of bit off, like with the story too, where it's kind of leaning into discomfort. That's kind of been my approach to writing it. So yeah, that's.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. That kind of struggling through the hard part of that story is probably going to suck, but it'll make the story so much better.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see.
That's the goal. How about you, Scott?
So I mentioned I didn't get a whole lot done. There's just a bunch of stuff that I kind of had to either take care of or kind of like my girlfriend had a really good friend that passed away, and so we had a funeral for her. So that took up some time, plus kind of just supporting my girlfriend and everything, because she had to, you know, take care of a lot of that stuff and everything. But I was pretty proud of myself, even with all that going on. I still think I got some stuff done, so that's good. But it was just a lot of, you know, helping her out, like I said, and then there was other stuff that you know, kind of took my attention away. I watched the launch, I want to say shuttle launch, but it's not really a shuttle; it's more like a rocket. So that, and also I had just some downtime and stuff like that, just stuff that I didn't usually give myself time to do. But I watched Revengeance because it's on Amazon Prime now. So
nice, right?
That. Cool, yeah.
It's weird. It's weird seeing Jim Luhan, like his character designs
Yeah, with the
like
Plimpton
animated
treatment.
in that way.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to check out Master Freak Theater. Although I assume it's like stuff that I've probably already seen, but it'd be cool just to see it on Amazon too. So, but yeah, so that was kind of cool. Watched fun. I got caught up with Mandalorian and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. We were talking about that. I don't know if we're still going to do that or not, but yeah. So that's kind of what's been occupying my time. But it's all the build up and all the stuff that with the funeral and everything. I mean, it's that was today. So now and a lot of stuff with like my girlfriend. She's like full time. She like took this massive undertaking trying to get her degree and everything, because she had a few more classes, but she just basically took trying to get it all done so she can get her degree and then go to the next degree. But so she was behind with that and everything. But so maybe I think things will kind of maybe settle down a little bit now. So but anyway, so yeah, that's what was going on for me as far as challenges. So
Cool.
That's some heavy challenges, man. And
Yeah.
it is cool you got managed to get work done on top of that,
Yeah. Sorry to hear about your
yeah.
It's always hard. So plans, I'm gonna keep working on this. I've got to figure out how to convert like Congress into like a battle dome for nanobots, and how much I want to do that in like 2.5D, and how much I just want to fake it. I was thinking of doing like a bowl, but then I was also thinking it would be cool to actually like put all those pillars out front and have some parallax. And so I'll see how much I want to. I don't know. I might just go in and take a photograph of the building and then cut it up so I can separate some stuff, just so I can get a shot like that. Anyway, so still playing with some of this. I'm not storyboarding. I just want to kind of see what happens like organically, because it's a pretty basic. It's like not a narrative, and so I can kind of show whatever I want as I'm doing it. So that's kind of the plan. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
yeah.
So
Sounds cool. So these will be functionless nanobots then? They just they'll kind of sit around and make massive amounts of money.
The point of these nanobots is that gerrymandering gets to the point where every district contains one person in it, so gerrymandering produces a system where there's just one citizen per vote, and the votes are tallied by that citizen being represented by a battle bot, and then the winner gets out of everybody in the nation gets to flip a coin, and the coin is just pass or fail on the bill. And so like every bill that hits Congress is pointless basically, and it's all televised, and it's like C-SPAN's basically revitalization for ratings is these BattleBot votes. So
I absolutely love that.
I'm working on the important things, the important things that really drive our nation. So anyway, so with all that, I got to decide what I want to do with the House of Congress and what it looks like and whatnot. But I don't know if I want to because it'd be cool if it just looked the same, but it'd also be cool if it's been like retrofitted, so that it's like some sort of like contained miniature Mad Max Battle Dome style thing. So I don't know, and it's also a dumb commercial that it's only going to be a few seconds long. So I'm trying to decide how much effort I want to put into it, but it'll look fun regardless of what I end up doing. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. How about you, Josh?
So plans. So my hope is to have by the next art check to have sorry, I'm kind of drawing too. I'd like to have the press release body copy done. I'd like to continue staying consistent with doing or attempting to do at least a page of these thumbnails. I should stop calling them thumbnails and just start calling them roughs, because I think they're just pretty much roughs. And then aside from that, I'd also like to have a good start on editing that trailer video, if not be finished with it. So that's my hope, because I don't think it'll be super complicated. Although I will be probably bugging Corey for some tips on that. Like trying to think of ways to show black and white artwork and scroll through it and have a sense of movement without it just seeming like a really fast blur of stuff that people can't even register because it moves too quick. And that's a fine line to juggle. And so that's something I might need to, that might take a little more time, but yeah. So that's what I'd like to get done.
Hey, it works. I just rigged a thing. Check this out while we were talking. So when I move this left and right, everybody moves to the left and the right. But when I move it up and down, they tilt. Cool. And so I can kind of like, if I do it right, they tilt and then it'll tilt and they can change direction, and then it'll tilt and they change direction.
That's awesome.
There we go.
Cool.
Yeah. So a circle is the way to do it. And they can kind of wobble. Yeah, sorry, I just figured that out.
Dude, that's very cool.
How about you, Scott, for plans?
Plans. So continuing to do KDP and working on just new books and interiors and all that kind of stuff, and uploading. One of the challenges I forgot to mention was that it seems like they're backed up as far as like approving designs, because usually they say it takes about 72 hours, and I think I've got one book there that I'm waiting for it to go live, and it's been like a week, so yeah, I don't know. It's taking a lot longer, which kind of sucks, because my whole thing right now is to try to get a bunch of books up for this, before Christmas for the fourth quarter. And if it takes, a week or more to upload a book, then, that's because it usually takes a while for them to get through the system and all that kind of stuff, even once they're approved. So anyway, I got that one book. And then after that, like last week, I uploaded a bunch of books. So I don't know, we'll see. But I'm just going to continue to design books and upload books and all that kind of stuff. Also, let's see, I got to work on probably start getting ready to send out another newsletter, because I know, it's going to be, before we know, it's going to be like Black Friday and all that kind of stuff. So probably start figuring out what I want to do for that as far as marketing that and everything, doing newsletter. I've got to do some, I've got a video that'll go live tomorrow, and then probably do another. I got to do another exclusive Patreon video, which I'll be doing. Which I got to figure out kind of what to do with Patreon, because it's not like growing, and it's like, and with everything that's going on, there's people that have emailed me and kind of had to back out and stuff. So I got to figure out. I was trying to well, what do I do with this, Patreon? But I think I just need to take a little more responsibility with it, and actually maybe try to promote it more and try to get more people on it and everything. So we'll see. But so those are some of the things I got planned, and we'll see what I get around to doing.
Nice.
Cool.
Sounds awesome.
We're kind of low energy today.
Yeah.
That? I feel like we're dragging a bit. Should we pick an exciting topic that'll get us all fired up?
Well, you could talk about Mandalorian.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back and talk about talk about Mandalorian. If anything else comes up in the chats or whatever. So, spoiler alert on the rest of this episode.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. All right. No one saw that except for us, but when the screen got covered by that animation, there's still like a little tiny thumbnail on my screen of Josh and Scott, and it's like an inch and a half tall. And so like there's this tiny little inch and a half tall thumbnail of like Josh like bounding away really fast to go grab coffee and come back. I don't know why that struck me as odd, but it was like just because it was so small. So yeah, Mandalorian. So we're all caught up.
Yeah, I think this one's more for us. I mean, obviously it's probably not our check, but we get it. I think we were talking last. You guys wanted to talk about it last week, and I wasn't caught up, so I'm caught up now. So
I like it.
Yeah, man, Bo-Katan. She's back.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That whole episode was pretty awesome.
Paris Race is back as Bo-Katan.
And was there like a drop that Ahsoka is going to be in it? Or
It's from my understanding. We've already cast her, and it's Rosario Dawson is going to be Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah, so Ahsoka's been rumored to be in it forever, so there's nothing new about that. But apparently, it's going to be the next episode, from what it seems like.
Oh, you think they'll get to her that soon? Well, there were how many more episodes we got? 2 or 3?
Well, we're 3 in. Did they do 11 in the first season?
I think no. Oh, the first season was 8 episodes, I think.
Okay, so if they do 8 again, we'll be 5 more.
Okay, yeah.
So a couple of interesting things that we learned in episode 3 of season 2, and this has been if anybody knows anything about Mandalorians, this isn't surprising. A lot of people who haven't been paying attention are like, I know tons of Mandalorians that take their helmet off.
Yeah, I was curious, and I love the way that they made sense of all that, because I'm like, okay, this is just like, they decided to retcon things or something or what, but no, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
so basically, he is part of a cult. he's part of an offshoot of religious zealots who are trying to live the way of the Mandalore. The whole time I've been saying the way of the Mandalore is different because several people, even some of his companions in season 1, were like, Mandalore isn't a race, it's a creed.
Yeah.
But it's obviously a race. There's a planet full of Mandalorians who are like genetically Mandalorian. They like are born on Mandalore. And so apparently the Children of the Watch are an organization that are trying to live the old ways. I don't know how old the old ways are, but I mean, Mandalorian armor and weaponry is specifically built to combat Jedi. And so like all of the things that they've got are basically so that they can fight Jedi and hold their own. And so they've got like the little, and you saw those 3 Mandalorians that were on there and they're fighting. They're doing things that are sort of like stuff that you can do with the Force. They're doing Force pushes and they're tripping people up and they're throwing things at people and they shoot fire and they're doing all these things. It's just they're not using the Force; they're using mechanics to do it. So that was really interesting that they did that because Bo-Katan was originally so she's Satine's sister.
Isn't she like a terrorist, or am I wrong? I thought.
Yeah, so Bo-Katan was part of the Black Watch. Is that the right name?
I think she was part. I thought wasn't she part of the same group that well, I guess his name Din Djarin, right? Who's the Mandalorian?
Yeah,
I think she was at once part of that same group.
Right. and that's I think that's Blackwatch. But they during the cartoon, the Clone Wars cartoon, you had Duchess Satine, who's Obi-Wan's girlfriend, basically, as much as a girlfriend as somebody in the Jedi Council can have. She was the ruling Mandalore during a time of peace, and Blackwatch, they were in their terrorist or freedom fighter, depends on your definition of things, but they were trying to bring back kind of the old ways of battle by, like decision by combat and things like that. They felt that it being a peaceable nation had kind of like stripped it of that. And so they overthrew the government. And then Darth Maul, that was pre-Vizsla, that was running Blackwatch at the time. And Satine was the ruler of Mandalore. Her sister, Bo-Katan, was part of Blackwatch, but was kind of disenfranchised at some point in time. So she believed in kind of the rhetoric and the propaganda. But then Blackwatch was co-opted when the leader of Blackwatch, pre-Vizsla, was beaten by Darth Maul. And then Darth Maul overtook Blackwatch, which had just overtaken the Mandalorian government. And so the entire planet of Mandalore was ruled by Darth Maul, who I think it wasn't the Crimson Tide, Crimson something or other.
Sun maybe, or something. Was it Crimson? Or I don't remember.
In the end of Solo,
right?
Han Solo's girlfriend was part of the Red Dawn. Was it Red Dawn?
No, Red Dawn's a movie from the 80s.
Now, Red October? I can't.
Yeah.
It's something like that, though. It has the color red in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's basically.
Maybe? I don't know.
I'll look it up. He's basically starting the takeover of uniting all of the kind of like underground, and so he starts taking over different factions of pirates and Huttese, criminal syndicates and things like that. And he does that from Mandalore. Anyway, pre-Vizsla had the Darksaber during that point in time. Then I believe Darth Maul took it when he beat him, and then I can't remember exactly what happened, but it fell into the hands. It got lost, and then it was recovered, and it fell into the hands in Rebels of Sabine Wren, and she was a member of the Ghost Ship. And so Sabine recovered the Darksaber and then gave it back to Bo-Katan, who at that point in time had left Blackwatch and was, I think Sabine convinced her that she was the rightful heir of the ruling class of Mandalore and needed to take anyway. And so that story is continuing from the Clone Wars to Rebels to now Mandalore, where she tells Din Djarin, I'm here to recover all these weapons because of the Purge. And now the Darksaber is in the hands of the
Moff Gideon, right?
Moff Gideon.
Yeah, the fried chicken guy. So anyway,
Los Pollos Hermanos Jedi.
Yeah.
Right. So Starbuck Kara Thrace needs to take the Darksaber back from the Los Hermanos fried chicken drug dealer. And then she can rule Mandalore. So anyway, a lot of like threads coming together from other series, which is kind of cool, and none of them in the movies.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. I mean, I'm sort of, I part of me likes sort of the fan service, but I'd kind of like something that's maybe not as much on the fan service, something that's a little different. And so far it has, I think they've been doing a good job, because they're bringing a few people in, like from, Clone Wars and things, but like you said, not necessarily from, from the cinematic, I guess, universe or whatever. But I like that they're introducing a bunch of new people. I do love when they you saw like the Corn and the Mon Calamari in this episode, and I like when you see those familiar aliens but different characters.
It's also kind of cool to see their habitat. It's neat to see this like port city done in Star Wars. It's just kind of cool to see. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know definitely in the animations, but it's like in the, I haven't really seen like a live action take at like a port city that I remember, where it's like a giant ocean and stuff.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff in the cartoons like that, but there's nothing.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see. And one of the things I'm really digging about it too is that like I don't think you have to be familiar like with like Clone Wars or anything like that.
So,
the way that they've been presenting it, it's like the characters that are even fan service characters, they're not like copping out and being like, oh, we don't need any backstory or interest in these characters. Like, I think they're going to fill out the character arcs and stuff. So I'm excited about that too. I'm curious where Corey was going to go with this theory. I wonder if I was right about it. Does it have to do with Baby Yoda?
My theory about how Baby Yoda is going to give into the dark side at some point.
See, that's what I thought it was. I don't agree.
I don't think he's gonna like go completely dark side, but they are definitely teasing that. I mean, he's getting fed a steady diet of just murder and mayhem. He's just watching, like as adults, we look at Din Djarin and we say like, oh yeah, I can see that as justified murder. But I mean, I want you to imagine being like 2 and your dad just on the regular just like offs people all the time. Like, I mean, they've been together for what, like a couple weeks at the moment, right? He's killed dozens of people in front of this kid. Okay. And then you see that he's also getting to know his weapons. So like in the other episode, in the first episode of this season, like as soon as he does I can't remember what those are called, the whistling birds or whatever. As soon as he cocks his wrist and the whistling birds light up, like Yoda's like, or Baby Yoda's like, boom, I know what's about to happen, right? And so he's like used to it. It's become normalized. And then whenever he sees that Din Djarin might be being threatened, sometimes he does stuff that is considered light side of the Force things, like levitating things and stuff like that. But like he full on Force choked Ronda Rousey. Like he's like, they're just like arm wrestling.
Ronda Rousey. It's not Ronda Rousey.
Practically Ronda Rousey.
I can't remember the name. What's her name? Is it not Ronda Rousey? I don't know.
No, she's like I think she is a mixed MMA person, but I think it's it's definitely a different person.
I don't watch MMA, so I'm not sure. But now I got to look it up because I thought it was her the whole time.
So the thing that I found kind of funny is like everybody freaking out about the eggs online.
Yeah.
Because it's basically like equivalent to like somebody eating like chicken eggs or something like that aren't fertilized. Like they're eggs. They're not.
Sort of.
I know they like gave it
only so many of them. And typically, I know that in cases like that, like when those turtles that come on the shore and they leave all the eggs, and there's only like a very small fraction that actually survives. So, but it was still,
I still the last funny, race. I mean, maybe I'm one of the strange desensitized people, but I definitely personally saw a lot of humor in it. I thought half the humor was that it was so inappropriate of
except
Baby Yoda, and then I also think it just, I don't know, I think when somebody's had like a 2 or 3 year old, you're aware of like, not that they're going to eat like the eggs of other animals, but like there is an age where kids will like grab anything within reach and just like, so
there's that. And then my wife pointed something out that I thought was kind of funny as well. She's like, everybody's all angry about this, but like, have you been around a 2-year-old? Like they just destroy things, and they will look you dead in the eye as they destroy something just to see, like, I wonder what happens if I just destroy this thing. You seem to care about this. I'm going to break it, throw it against the wall, or eat it, or step on it, or whatever.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I don't know. Maybe it's like, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think it was definitely, I don't think it was as shocking or horrifying as a lot of people thought it was, and partially because of that too, where it's like,
but they didn't play it as humorous. They played it like super malicious. I feel like, because at one point in time, she's like, this is the last of my line. Like she really played it up, right? I get the whole fertilized, unfertilized thing, but she really played it up like, you know, this is really important. I mean, they can't even go into hyperspace. There's like all these, you know, she's very concerned about this. And then like the scene that really got me about it, where I was like, that kid's just a little bit evil. It's like the closing scene.
Yes, it's so good.
Directly at her, and then is like, I'm going to eat this now. And anyway, I think the mother's care for the eggs changed a little bit. Now, let me ask you this, though. In episode 3, she's babysitting him, right? And they come back. Do you think he's going to try to eat the little tadpole, or do you think he's realized, think he's realized, oh, this is like a living thing and whatever?
It looked like he kind of wanted to play with it from what little they showed. It didn't look like he was going to try to eat it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we've seen him eat is like soup that he gets at a bar, or frogs. And then then we're given like, here are like anthropomorphic, like, you know, Jawa-sized frogs. He's still eating them.
Yeah, one of the funnier memes I saw coming out of it was they were talking about how Yoda wasn't just hiding out, that he was like an apex predator, like on his planet. But yeah, no, I definitely think they play that line, and I think it's funny that they chose to have like these frog people, because he's clearly got a taste for frogs, and apparently spiders too. So I don't know, man, but I did kind of like with some of that more moral outrage that kind of
the internet
floated all over the internet. I just I find that hilarious, because come on,
right? But I mean, I could totally see him busting out some force lightning at some point in time.
Yeah.
Well, and just electrocuting somebody, because I want, like, think about a toddler that learns to climb, except instead of learning to climb, you can learn to manipulate like telekinesis. It's just like, you know, like they literally like, I want that thing. And they don't think about their own personal safety. They don't think about how it's going to hurt anybody else. I mean, you know, I remember my youngest brother, like one of my brothers was taking a nap, and my youngest brother just had gotten like a plunger with like a wooden handle, and just like a mafia, you know, enforcer with a baseball bat, just like broke his nose while he was sleeping. And it's because he was 3. You know, I mean, it's just like, so I think he's going to dabble. I think he's going to dabble in the dark side, because Din Djarin is a terrible father figure.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that he's not good at watching that kid. I mean, the value of that kid is like, everyone is after this kid, and he just leaves them. He just leaves them anywhere, basically, or gives them watch him for a little bit, or just leave him on the ship or whatever, or just let him like walk like 10 feet behind him, not paying any attention. It's like, I mean, he knows how important this kid is, and all these people are after him. He just doesn't. It's like,
it is kind of cool to see how they're doing the whole kind of lone wolf and cub type storyline, though. I mean, I still think that was a pretty brilliant move on their part to kind of go that route. I think I just like, so on the dark side note, I definitely think he's going to probably have moments of being in the dark and in the light, in the sense of like training, like most Jedi, like, you know, and so I'm imagining like that'll probably be a struggle, especially And that is an interesting take where it's like he's been surrounded by all this horror, like and like murder and mayhem. But then what's weird is if you think about people in that universe, like they pretty much are surrounded by that all the time anyway.
It seems like that, but they're only sort of. Because you think about it, like we are watching the highlights. Like I think
yes,
most people, at their peak, there was like 10,000 Jedi in like a galaxy of billions and billions and billions and billions and billions. And so like most people had never seen a Jedi. They like hear the things. And that's the same thing with Mandalorians. Like there's an entire planet full of Mandalorians. And then apparently there's this splinter group that is living the way of the Mandalore that uses foundlings that aren't genetically Mandalorian. And like they're incredible fighters by legend, but nobody's ever met them. And so like Din Djarin is the first Mandalorian that a lot of people he's ever met, but people recognize him because of the stories, which is a whole other thing. I want to know, like, are there storytellers? Are there like bards? Are there like, how are these stories being told? I mean, we have hints of like the HoloNet and like there's some sort of like propaganda network that's mentioned in the books about how, there's all of these hollows, which are just videos that are being like sent around the galaxy or whatever. But like, how are all these stories getting out about Jedi and Mandalorians? But anyway, I don't think most people in this galaxy are used to that level of mayhem. I think it's just the main characters.
Yeah.
It's really weird what people understand about this galaxy and how, because like take for instance Tatooine, which is supposed to be this remote world. If there's what does Luke say? If there's a bright center of the universe, it's the planet that's furthest from. It's this outside planet where nothing's supposed to happen, just desert wasteland. And then you've got like these creatures like banthas that are indigenous. I've never seen them on any other planet, but everyone knows what a bantha is. Like they said, oh, they couldn't hit the broadside of a bantha or all this stuff. And like when you say that, that means it's a phrase that most people understand or whatever. But like it's just weird. Like all these weird creatures that everyone seems to know that. How would you, in all the different languages? I mean, there's just so much in this universe.
Well,
and everyone seems to understand it all. So
yeah, I think with my speculation would be like that. With space travel being accelerated, it's sort of like how do we know about polar bears?
Right, yeah.
Since they only exist in this one weird area of the world, like they aren't really.
That's true. That makes sense.
And you can go like. That's another thing. Are there space zoos? I'm sure there are.
but then you also have like, as far as the language thing goes, there's a language called Basic,
right? Which is English, basically. Yeah.
Right. It's English, but like, and then like in Solo, a Star Wars movie or Star Wars story or whatever the subtitle of that is, the reason this cracks me up. I love that they threw this in there because they're like. That movie is so weird because they try to explain things that don't need to be explained. But one of the things that they try to explain is like how Han Solo can speak Wookiee. And he took Wookiee in grade school. Like there's a line in that movie where it's like.
I don't remember him saying that. Did they say that in the movie?
Yes.
Oh.
Am I remembering that wrong? I'm almost certain that he mentioned.
I don't remember that from the movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind watching it again because I was one of the rare people, I guess, that didn't like. I know a lot of people who didn't really enjoy it, but like I very much enjoyed it.
Most people that I talked to liked. I thought it was great, and I hear that I just for whatever reason when it came out, it maybe underperformed a little bit, but I think since it's been released on streaming and everything like that, it seems like people like I've heard people talking about that they want to see more from that world too, or continue that on. So who knows what'll happen.
Man, I love it.
I'm gonna look that up. I'm almost certain that's. I
have to say that technology they're using to shoot The Mandalorian is kind of mind-boggling. Yeah. Like it looks more convincing than any of the feature films, and it's kind of strange to be watching. But I also have to say, one of the things I like about Mandalorian and the premise is it, out of every Star Wars movie, this one feels the most like the games I would play as a kid pretending to be in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, because they're short stories, and so they're very much like yeah, we're gonna do like a bank heist, you know, or like we're gonna capture the ship, or whatever like the small mission is in the story arcs, like feel very much like gameplay, and it's kind of fun. It's a very surreal experience, like having that as a show right now, and I'm very thankful for it, honestly. Like, it's probably one of the few really great things in 2020. You know, so yeah.
So I have a question, because I have some thoughts on this. But what do you guys think of the Boba Fett reveal and everything?
Oh, I thought it was great. I'm excited about it.
So to me, when they first said that they were probably going to introduce Boba Fett, I was like totally against it. I was like, because Boba Fett, as a kid, Boba Fett was my favorite. I mean, I dressed up from Halloween, and it was just, Boba Fett was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
But to me, the reason why he was the coolest thing, because he was so mysterious. And then, my opinion, in the prequels, once they established his whole backstory, and that it just did nothing. I didn't care about Boba Fett anymore. And so I got that same feeling that I liked about Boba Fett when they, with the Mandalorian and that character, and kind of, because there's still a lot you don't know about him, and you're discovering things along the way, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, why do you need Boba Fett when now we've got this cool character, the Mandalorian and everything? And it just seemed like it seems like just too similar, and I didn't care, but the way they introduced him, and the way it looks like it's going to go, where he's kind of, it looks like he's, he's got the, the Tusken Raider, the gaffy sticks, and the rifle and everything. It looks like, he's kind of, because and the other thing is, he could have probably picked up his armor from the Marshall guy pretty easily if he wanted to, but it didn't look like he was interested. So to me, I love that idea, because now I'd like to know more about Boba Fett, this new Boba Fett.
Yeah,
he's different from the Mandalorian, and what happened to him, and where's he going now, because he's an entirely different character, and I'm kind of interested in that. Whereas if he was just kind of back to the same Boba Fett as before, I wouldn't care so much.
Yeah, and I really do want to see, how he survived the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
Like, that's to me, that's the one fascinating thing too, is like, how did you survive the Sarlacc pit? And then you wonder if, like, did he lose his armor, or was the armor something that was like digested by, like, and then kind of, I don't know. It's to me, that's going to be fun to kind of find out as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, because, I mean, if what everybody's saying on the internet is correct, then the timeline is he's basically crawled out of the Sarlacc pit like 5 years before we see him. What has he been doing?
Yeah. Did he like have a little apartment, like what Robot Chicken style, like inside the Sarlacc pit?
Well, it looks like he's been hanging out with the Tusken Raiders,
Yeah. Maybe they saved him. I don't know.
Unless he just murdered one and took their weapons. I don't know.
Oh, man, for plot development too, the Tusken Raider stuff has all been excellent.
Yeah,
I love that they have kind of furthered their culture and their storyline, and made them like richer characters, because
Yeah, and we're no longer thinking of them as, savages and creatures. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I have not had an episode that I really disliked. The only thing that threw me off was and I'm blanking out on his name. Great comedian, but he was in like the heist one. It's like a bald guy.
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr, yeah.
Yeah.
That was an awful episode.
I liked the episode. He drew me out of it, because it's just so obviously Bill Burr. It was like it's just hard to like buy him as like this like tough like I don't know. It just pulled me out of the illusion. I didn't mind the episode. I kind of thought it was
I hated that episode. I hated everything about it because they tried to make it more of like a horror flick.
They've been doing that quite a bit.
Like the chasing him through the halls with the flashing lights, and it's just like, this is weird.
Well, I felt like it was trying to be like Ocean's 11 kind of,
Well, it's like they're taking all these tropes from other genres and putting them in, which I kind of like. I mean, obviously,
yeah,
there's a lot from Dune in the first episode of this season. There was the second season is practically aliens. So I mean, there's a lot of that stuff, but it still feels like Star Wars. So I didn't really mind that. I like that because the one thing I really like, and it looks like I was worried that they weren't going to continue it with this season, but it looks like they are. Is I like these individual sort of missions. And it looks like it's probably going to go to because I wouldn't be surprised if he needs to team back up with the Marshall character, kind of like he did. And, I'm sure we're going to see Cara Dune again and Grief Karga and all the people from before. So I like that. I like that idea. I like that there's a narrative, but it's also these little side missions and things like that. I mean, it just feels like the old Westerns, every once in a while when I'm over at my dad's, I'll turn on like Have Gun Will Travel or something like that. And it reminds me of that so much. And it's just so cool.
Yeah. And I think that the vibe is much more equivalent to, I mean, it definitely feels Star Wars for sure. But it also has a similar vibe to like the early X-Files, like when X-Files was still kind of fun, like the first season or whatever, where it would like have a very serious episode and then they'd have like a goofy oddball episode and there was a continual storyline, but it was like very thinly threaded through like a serialized stories. And then similarly, like, early Star Trek was fun like that too, where it was like adventures, like random adventures, and they're kind of one-offs until it kind of got a little more serious too. So like, I enjoy that a lot. It feels a lot like that. That's amazing, Corey.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think it's looking okay.
Yeah.
Gotta get it into a background now.
That's so cool.
Get him some shadows.
Sweet.
It was weird when they were all moving together, so I separated them. So, yeah. There's so much there. I don't know. There's so much about it that's fun. I think the history of the Darksaber is really interesting, and how that's going to play into it, because that seems like based on what now I'm forgetting her name. Cara Thrace's character.
Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan. What Bo-Katan said is that's the reason that she's involved is like, and so I think we're going to come back to her.
Yeah.
Maybe not next episode, but there'll be a couple episodes and then we'll be back and there'll be a big confrontation with the fried chicken guy. Yeah, that'll be interesting, I think, to see that, because we still don't know what the purge was. There's some sort of purge where the Empire wiped out a bunch of Mandalorians and scattered them to the wind or whatever they did there. And then, did you guys notice that Bo-Katan quoted Darth Vader? There was that little nod to I'm changing the terms of our agreement. Pray I don't change it.
Okay. She said that whole line?
No, he said,
okay.
Din Djarin was like, "You're changing the terms of the agreement," and she was like, kind of like, "This is the way," basically like throwing his religion in his face.
Yeah.
But there's always those little nods to like other lines. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I looked it up. Han Solo, when his dad lived on Corellia, and worked on ships, had and then he was in a gang later as a child. There was a Wookiee child slave in the gang, and he learned to understand Wookiee from
Is that from Expanded Universe, or I don't remember that being said in the Solo movie, but
I'm almost certain it was said in the Solo movie, but I can't find anything online that's saying that, so I might be remembering that wrong. But yeah, it's definitely in some of the books. They just came out with the second From a Certain Point of View, and I'm a few stories into that. And that's pretty fascinating. I think the first one's better, but you have the backstory of all the people that Darth Vader is force choking. You've got the creature. Apparently, there's these giant space snails that look like asteroids, and that's where the Millennium Falcon hides. And so apparently, there's this entire species of creatures that just float around in space, disguising themselves as asteroids, and they live like thousands of years and stuff. The one that the Millennium Falcon hid in was an infant, and so it didn't know how to like contain him or whatever. Anyway, there's a lot of really interesting things with that, but yeah. So I don't know. I gotta watch these episodes like closer to talking about them, because I forget them after a few days. They all kind of just blend together.
Yeah, I definitely am enjoying the idea of like binging them all over again as well.
Yeah, I liked the little jab at so that portside planet that's mostly ocean, those characters are from the Clone Wars cartoons, and there's another character that hasn't showed up yet that I'm wondering if they're going to show up, because they had like the squid-headed looking guys, and then you've got the fish-headed looking guys, like the Akbar species, calamari, and then the other species are also calamari, or at least from the same planet.
They're called, I think they're called Quarren.
Quarren, yeah, and they hate each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on that planet, they seemed to be fine. They were living together and whatever. They didn't work together. There seemed to be crews of Quarren and crews of calamari. But I mean, in the cartoon, there was like a civil war, and then there was that dude that basically had like a great white shark head that like came in and was just like,
oh yeah, I remember
destroying everybody. Anyway, I didn't see any great white shark head guys, but yeah, I've kind of that wasn't that planet, right, Scott? That was a different planet that they were on.
So no, that wasn't Mon Calamari, where those two species originated from, or at least the calamari did. And I don't know if the corn came from somewhere else and land, but it's basically those creatures, both those species migrated to this other planet that we saw. So, but they're not native to that planet, from my understanding. I think it's just because it's a water world, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'm a little confused on what actually the Empire, because at first we just see these fractions, but then in this episode we saw, this freighter and there's still Imperial officers. I mean, before I just figured stormtroopers, like the lower people, are just, for high, it seemed like they were just. But now we're seeing these Imperial officers, and we see, we saw Moff Gideon and all that. So what, I know they're the remnants, but what, like, real power do they have? I mean, I don't know. I'm just
Well, I mean, they are going to mutate into the First Order.
Right. Yeah. I guess that makes sense, but yeah.
So they're still around, and they're just, I mean, basically the only thing that really happened is 2 Death Stars and the Emperor and Vader were killed. But I mean, other than that, they're still there.
Yeah.
I actually think that's pretty believable, because
it makes sense.
War,
everything that I heard previous to that is that, once the second Death Star blew up, that was it. And then the rebels are, now the new Republic and everything. So I don't know.
But then you have like Saw Gerrera. He throws kind of a wrench in that original, kind of in this 80s where it was just like good and evil. Saw Gerrera's like, he's a rebel, but he's like extremely violent and just murders. I mean, he's like kind of like in most like realistic rebellions that splinter groups. I mean, he's like one of those extreme, like he's kind of part of the rebels, but like at multiple times they're like, we can't work with that guy. He's nuts. He's a violent, crazy person. But then where was I seeing that? I think in the comics right now, I think Saw's dead, but his like lieutenants are working with people to do stuff right now.
Saw died in the movie.
Right.
He died in Rogue One.
But the guy with the camera eyes and the mask face, I don't know his name. He's still kicking around doing stuff. Or maybe that was in now I'm getting it all mixed up. Might be in Rebels or something. But anyway, he's still around doing stuff, and it's interesting because he's having to make choices between like, well, this is how Saw would do it, and I kind of was cool with that, but I don't know if I'm cool with it right now or whatever. So kind of interesting. But the interesting thing about this is what is driving my wife nuts is the interesting thing about the way that they're telling these stories is they are jumping all over the timeline. Like, we might get New Republic stuff at some point in time or Old Republic stuff in the video games. And like, it's really hard to figure out sometimes like when this happens, but it's interesting because they're telling these stories, but we know how it turns out. Like I've already seen episode 9.
Yeah.
I've seen 7, 8, 9. So I know where this is going, but it's still really fascinating to see, these other things. And The Mandalorian, what I really like about The Mandalorian is the first thing kind of in recent years that has been like, let's tell some stories that don't involve Skywalkers. Like, Let's just see what happens in this world. I think that's super interesting.
What's also great about it is like, because they're at least so far relatively insignificant characters.
Yeah.
For the greater story, it's like a lot can happen and they can continue to exist and maybe not even have much of an impact on where things end up and not necessarily like disappear. So I think it's fascinating in that sense too, where it's like, it's just, it's wide open, like where it can go, which is pretty exciting,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, cool. That was good. Good to catch up. Anything else before we close it out? We're going on an hour and 20 minutes here.
No, it was cool just to there was a few things I was just kind of curious about, or I just wanted to talk about it. So
do you think Baby Yoda is going to flirt with the dark side?
Now that you kind of mention, I just didn't pick up on any of that, but it does. I mean, it does sort of. I can kind of see what you're talking about now. So, yeah, maybe that is something that they're going to explore. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. And it'll be really interesting to continue to see Din Djarin realize that you can still be a Mandalorian and not be a child of the Watch.
Yeah, although I do like the fact that he, other than that one episode, that he hasn't taken off his mask. I hate to get to the point where he just constantly taking off the mask, because I think you lose some of that mystery. I wish they wouldn't have revealed his face in the last one. I mean, I know the actor is like a famous actor, and he's so I mean it's like, I don't know, they got to show it. But to me, that always harkens back to the way they do the Marvel movies, where or on the posters. I mean, they always have their mask off on the posters because they're advertising those actors, when really those actors, most of them were nobody before they started playing that character, with the exception of maybe Robert Downey Jr. But I mean, the people go to see those movies. Well, some people might go to see for the actor or whatever, but people go to those movies because of the heroes. And
I was going to say, I know a lot of women who watch Thor, and it's not for the character.
Well, Thor doesn't wear a mask, but like Spider-Man, I mean, to me, if you're going to have Spider-Man on the cover of a movie, he should be wearing his mask. And so I don't know. That's just a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. can understand that.
It's marketing for movies, and that's just what they do. But so I kind of like for him to keep his helmet on.
Yeah, I actually think one of the most incredible things about the show is that like Baby Yoda doesn't speak, and yet they've developed this whole character that coos and has like a very limited vocabulary, so it's all just silent acting. And similarly, like the other thing a lot of TV shows rely on for acting, which is like facial expressions, are just completely gone, and yet they've built this whole character.
And you care about him. It's weird that, and you can get that emotion across, and you don't even need to see all that.
Yeah, with no face being shown like the majority of the season, like the series, and like I think that's pretty incredible. And I agree. I kind of hope they ride that out for as much as they can, because it's really cool to see what they can get away with without kind of relying on expressions. That's actually really hard to do too, and to bring it back to art and stuff. I think it's a pretty good challenge. People who are doing art, like if you have a character who doesn't speak, or a character who doesn't have facial expressions, like that's a pretty huge challenge.
Yeah. It also helps quite a bit too, because you can, what is it? Scott McCloud says that like the less realistic or the less recognizable something is, the more we project our own experiences onto.
Yeah.
So kind of the mask, like Scott's saying, is helpful, because it's like, oh, he's so sad right now. Well, there's literally nothing that indicates that, except for like the context clues around him, and that I would be sad in that situation, or whatever. So the actor doesn't get in the way as long as he leaves the mask on. I don't know. Yeah. Well, Scott, where can we find your stuff?
You can find my stuff at circworks.com. You can also find me Circworks on YouTube, and check out Making Comics 101, the series where I show you the ins and outs of making comics from start to finish, basically.
Love it.
Josh, where can we find your stuff?
So you can check me out at joshuakemble.com, and I recommend go to the store page and pick up some comics, particularly like Numb, and keep an eye out for when 2 Stories is up. And if you have the time and you want, go to Amazon, look for 2stories.com by Joshua Kemble, and hopefully save it to your list so it gives you a notification when it's up for pre-order. So, yeah.
I'm going to do that.
That's cool. And you can find my stuff at CoreyKerr.com. If you go to CoreyKerr.com/online, you'll see all the different places where I am online. So go check that out. And you're on my channel, so do all the my channel things that everybody always says on YouTube. And we will see you guys in a few days.